You want to make your fantasy sports league more than a fantasy? Then you need Trophy Smack.
It's the #1 store for fantasy and tournament trophies, belts, draft boards, loser awards, and other ridiculous products.
Trophy Smack is more than just a trophy company with outstanding customer service and products. It's the very essence and heart of every fantasy league. And if you click now, TrophySmack.com gives you free shipping, a free loser poster, and can have the hardware to you in a few days. Bragging rights included. Go to TrophySmack.com right now and take your fantasy league to the next level.
Go. It's about to be a jovial 60 minutes, my dude. And you hear right now, what you gonna hear right now? Chase of all the places, and you hear right now, what you gonna hear right now? Chase of all the places, Been win the dynasty, but does she like me? Feel like a plumber sleeping, now that's a pipe dream. For the right fee, I might be entitled to the title, be on top like the cherry of an ice cream. Sunday, that's the one day I can come play, never complain, cause I know the boys gon' drop a pod, prop up my squad so I can talk a lot. But here we go again, it's a new year, rookies flowing in, it's some new tears. Who here to do fear? Bounce bells over their chest like boutonnieres. It's a new era, happy hour, yeah. Let me ask you this, are you trying to get picks? Are you trying to get rich? Are you trying to get ships? Then you're trying to get this. And you hear right now, what you gonna hear right now? Chase of all the places, and you hear right now, what you gonna hear right now? Chase of all the places.
Here we are. It's playoff week. We're Dynasty Happy Hour. I'm not in the best of moods. It's been a weird fantasy week. We're here to talk about it. I'm a little salty.
When does a weird week become just a normal week? Because it's always been weird this year. I posted that. I said, when does the abnormal just become normal? Because it
2022, hopefully, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a year.
Yeah, we're gonna get the Decepticon variant in like 2022 in like September, and we're gonna have like the Megatrons and the Starscream variants, and then we're gonna have games like shuffled around and people on COVID lists still for the third year in a row. Yeah. Anywho, all right. Yeah. So I'm not in the. Don't get me wrong. I'm winning in some leagues, and I'm happy about that. But the leagues that I really want to win, it's going to be a coin flip. As we're recording this, there's still 4.5 games left, so anything can happen. I realize that it's fantasy football. So you know what? I'm trying to stay optimistic, but if I don't seem the cheerful, bright host that I normally am, I'm just going through some things, and I'll be okay. I just want everyone to know that. It's just fantasy football. Things are out of my control. I didn't make too many bad lineup. I actually put Tyler Huntley in a lineup when Lamar was out, because I have Baker on Tuesday, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just put Huntley in, and he popped off for 40 points.
Let's start with that. I posted, I asked, is Tyler Huntley a starter in 2022? I think he's personally shown enough to where if Baltimore wanted to get something out of him, they could. So
they just keep him as a high-end backup to Lamar, who's been getting a little ding and donged. You know what I mean?
I mean, that is true, but the answer on Twitter was 144 votes with an hour. 35 say yes, 35%, and 65% says no. So
I think the last 2 weeks, I mean, based on the way that they've schemed, it's been pretty much Marquise Brown and Andrews today, and then Bateman had a nice game last week. I mean, he's kind of like a modified. The way that they have him playing is almost like a game manager-y type role, but he's finding open receivers. He's scrambling successfully when he needs to. Like, he looks like
Jalen Hurts.
He looks like he's been doing it for a while, and he doesn't have a lot of experice. So
I'm sorry, but I've seen more from him than Jalen Hurts. Personally.
He's more accurate than Hurts.
Exactly. So what I think Greg Roman did was he took out his old playbooks and he dusted off 2004 when he had Vic and all them, and was like, hey, LG Crumpler, Michael Vick, we're just gonna run these plays. That's why Andrews is getting a ton, and then Hollywood
Ryan
is getting,
Finneran. Oh.
yeah, Hollywood's the Brian Finneran except like 3 feet shorter
and 10 times faster.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you will about Tyler Huntley. He's doing
Great
well.
name.
He played well in the past 2 weeks, but he's an exclusive rights free agent, and no way, with only a contract of $780,000, is the Baltimore Ravens going to let him walk.
They'll put
He's
a tender on him.
A mirror image, exactly what you want but to back up Lamar. He can play the system. He can mimic the actions of Lamar Jackson. So I don't see him going anywhere, despite the talks on social media. And
here's the thing: like the last 2 weeks, Huntley has looked way better than Lamar's looked over the last month. So. Yeah. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, I know Lamar's a former MVP, but that offense looked lost in the last month. And we'll talk about it a little bit further as we get to that game. But hey, it's Christmas week officially. So boys,
happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Is everyone caught up on their shopping? Where you at for wrapping? Like, what's going on, Tyler? Are you got a Christmas tree behind you? So you're obviously
I got a Christmas tree. I've got my wife's gift right next to me. Just came in today.
Is that what that buzzing is?
Yes. And it I mean, it can do that, but it's not that. Oh. But
I'm hearing different patterns. What's going on?
We're all caught up, and Christmas is around the corner. It's going to be fun. And hey, after Christmas, it just means we are full time. We are back at the grind. We are hitting 2022. We're getting a bunch of declares coming out. Kenneth Walker, the Michigan State running back, who
Hall just declared too.
I love Kenneth Walker.
Is it Brees Hall? Bryce Hall?
Bryce.
I think Bryce.
That's going to be the argument in this offseason. You know that's going to happen.
Bryce
Aroni.
And it's going to be really fun. There's already arguments about who's wide receiver one. Is it Drake London? Is it Trey Burks? Is it the Ohio State guys? It's going to be a fun discussion. And after it's all said and done, it's not going to matter because we're not going to know anything.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the people that will say like the 2022 class sucks, and then all of a sudden it's great. So because that happens every year.
Kind of like how I mean, the common theme I saw on
this
Twitter
class
lately
stinks, and then all of a sudden people are wanting early second round picks because of the combine or the way the draft shakes out.
The victory laps I've been seeing are just like, okay, we're at week 15. It's like, hey, I was on Jonathan Taylor. It's like, just back off. Like, we're at the point where you can't victory lap Jonathan Taylor. He's just that good. You can't
unless you hotly debated someone about CEH versus Taylor, like I did with my brother-in-law, and he's just been ethered. Like he is just dust at this point.
That's true. I mean, thank God I hopped on Swift's back, but I mean, that's not looking great right now.
You may have rode him too much already because he's not seeing the field anytime soon.
His knees got bad.
Maybe next week I need him back.
He's got those Zion knees, all that weight on those knees and ankles or whatever it is.
It's true. He's not meant to carry that burden. It happens. All right, James, how's things going for holiday prep season in your crib?
Ready to go. Hit North Jersey. We got to go up to North Jersey to see some of the family.
Got to go out to the outlets and hit the discounts.
Won't mention any names, but we saw some family yesterday. So
you buying anything out of a trunk of a car for Christmas?
The old GSP. No, everything's going great. I have a bunch of toys with my new son, and I do not know where the heck we are going to put them because that was only Christmas part 1.
It's a problem.
It's a problem. I know he's gonna take over the man cave at one point, but he's not getting in this cubicle.
I'm not turning the camera this way. I'm not doing it because it is all toys.
We built our kids a playroom. Do you think that they play in that playroom? No. They bring everything out into the man cave and jump in front of the TV and annoy me. I want to buy them matching straitjackets for Christmas. I don't know if that's
a wonderful idea. You should find a store and let us know. That'd be great.
Yeah, just
duct tape them to the wall with like a Capri Sun.
Staple it.
I mean, at least you're feeding them and giving them drinks.
I'm keeping them warm. There's heat down there. So just don't call CPS. Things are going well over here. I've finished wrapping. I got a couple gifts coming in the mail.
Got a new album?
Yeah, it's DJ Easy E.
That's
West
so
Coast
true.
style. Yeah, it's great. And F the police and whatnot. But it's like not the police though, because they already have enough hatred. So I got to find another group to attack.
The color, like
I
you're
gotta
not
be
a big fan
trendy.
of blue uniforms. You would wish they went to like a different color of blue. Maybe
I'm gonna say like what kind of line of work can I attack that no one else? Maybe like F the custodians, and I can have Tyler. I can do like a guest track from Tyler that's like a clap back, and we can start a rivalry.
Okay, so you would be an
A
East
beef,
Coast
if you will.
rapper. I would be a Midwest rapper. What would that sound
I'm
like?
a West Coast rap guy. Like that's my thing. I
But
live
you're
on the
from the
East Coast,
East.
but I've always been a West Coast rap guy.
I would
Boston
love to
doesn't have
hear
any rappers.
Minnesota.
Not really.
I wonder if they do. Hey, how's it going? I'm over here cooking my hot dish.
Oh, look at all this snow that I'm blowing. Oh. I could do this all day, boys. All right,
that
let's-
was good.
Already.
Yes, absolutely. We only
may
do
be
this every
missing
other
some
week.
games
so.
this week, but we do have stuff to
There's
talk
some
Yeah,
games
about.
that I don't
Fantasy
even want to
relevant.
talk
Once
about.
we
Let's be
do-
honest.
We know Doug just
every-
wants to talk and try to like get away from it.
Once we do every week, we'll be more on the rails. But yeah, I mean, we don't do this that often, so we just like to let loose.
It's
Foot
always
loose.
a fun time here on the Dynasty Happy.
Yes, yes. All right, let's get into the games, the games, if you will. Thursday night, big matchup in the AFC West. A wild game. This game low-key kind of blew up until, I don't know, midway through the third quarter. And then it started to be a pinball machine. And then everyone's like, look at these fantasy points. It was like hitting 777 on a slot machine for fantasy points, especially if you're a Chiefs fan. Chiefs win this one 34-28. Travis Kelsey, a career high, 191 yards receiving on 10 receptions, 2 touchdowns. He gets the walk-off touchdown in overtime to end this game. Mahomes finally has a Mahomesian type game. He's low-key been not great. I think he's been a QB1. He was like one time in like 5 or 6 weeks. Like it's been pretty bad for Mahomes, but he has over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill has a really nice game as well. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who we talked about earlier, he's just a guy. I don't care. Like he's just a guy to me. You can put any guy in that system. Hilaire's not it, but that's another debate for another day. And then for the Chargers, Keenan Allen has a nice game. Mike Williams disappoints. Austin Eckler gets you a touchdown to kind of save his day, but you could tell that they were not using him a ton because of his injury. But Justin Jackson looked really, really good. He's a free agent going into next year. Do we see like Justin Jackson maybe coming back to the Chargers, or is he going to go somewhere and maybe have that third down role consistently with another team? I don't know. I thought that was interesting because I've always kind of liked Justin Jackson, and I thought he looked really, really good in this game.
I think the Kansas City defensive line just doesn't really.
No Chris Jones.
Yeah, no Chris Jones
isn't really strong enough,
which makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I want to back it up a little bit on this one because CEH, how much value has he lost this season alone? I think he's lost a round of value for sure.
I actually
At the
had
beginning
someone.
of this season, we saw him mid to late first round pick for CEH, and now he is averaging less than 3.5 yards per carry. He only had 9 fantasy points. He's not doing it for us. And Darrell Williams looks like the better running back. I'm sorry. And a lot of people spent a lot of draft capital on him. And I think you've missed your window on selling him. He may be a buy low coming into next season if things were to shake around a little bit.
I want to give you my opinion on this. So in a chat group that I'm in with writers on tffgurus.com, shameless plug, someone asked CEH or a really late first round pick in 2022. And I said I would take CEH, and here's why. Because the last 2 years, we've seen that late first round pick be Keyshawn Vaughn, and then this year, Trey Sermon. I would rather have Clyde Edwards-Helaire than a late first round running back, I think. Especially, I know this class, we'll see what the class shakes out. I'm not shitting on the 2022 class, but I would rather take Helaire because I still think there might be some upside. If it's the 112 in a 12-team league, I'd take Helaire. But that's kind of where I'm at with it, just because the last 2 years we've seen guys like Vaughn and Sermon get drafted there and be completely useless picks. CEH isn't completely useless, but that's in the realm of outcomes if you're picking at the late first round and those great running backs. The Javonte Williams is the last one off the board, and then you're like, well, this guy's trending. Let me get him, and then so I would do CEH for a late first in 2022. That's kind of where I'm at.
Fair enough.
Tyler, what do you think about that?
I mean, I actually just traded CEH before the Urban Meyer news, and I got Travis Etienne straight up for him, and that's where I'm at with it. I mean, if I'm going to give a late first for a running back, I would rather give one that I have not seen to a team that is going to have
upside.
Yeah, with some upside. A team that's going to look completely different. Hey, Urban was going to use him as a wide receiver. That's all fine and dandy, but when you are the college,
an idiot.
When you're the college leading rusher, like when you're that talented and like you're that well known for years and years and how good of a runner you are, and you're switching to wide receiver, that made no sense to me. So I'm hoping that the next coaching staff that comes in says, hey, we've got this super talented runner that has fresh tires and we can do this thunder and lightning thing.
That would be a nice 1-2 punch with Robinson.
Like I could see a Zeke and Tony Pollard type style, like a perfect comp.
Except Robinson being good.
I mean, a perfect comp.
Which one's bad in that situation then?
Zeke's bad.
Oh,
I mean, the Pollard, he's not as shifty. He's got some, some jump cuts, but that's exactly what Etienne is. He's kind of just
he's got the extra oomph.
You find a hole, get that oomph, and you're gone. And that's what Tony Pollard did. So I would rather get the Etienne side. And I mean, that's there's gonna be tons of running backs that you can go buy for on the same price as CH, like a Dobbins or Akers, that I'd rather go for.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right. And the other thing was welcome back Travis Kelsey, because he had 2 absolute turd buckets of a game. He had like 5 points in the previous 2 weeks in each game, and then he absolutely popped off in this one and hopefully helped you win your league this week.
Him and Mark Andrews in my Scott Fishbowl league are going to hopefully carry me to the next round.
Yeah, that'd be, my Scott Fishbowl, I didn't make the playoffs. I missed it by 6 points with the next round, and I would have started Kelsey and Hunter Henry this week and had a ton of points, but it wasn't meant to be, and it's okay. All right, let's get into some of these 1:00 games that happened on Sunday. The first one I want to touch on is the Bills versus the lowly Panthers. The Panthers are just #bad. And the Bills, they roll in this one 31-14. The real story of this game from a fantasy perspective was Devin Singletary getting 22 carries. Zach Moss, friend of the show, not really, was a healthy scratch again. So it was Matt Breida. It was Devin Singletary. Singletary, 86 yards and a touchdown. And then Emmanuel Sanders was out, and the DFS play waiver wire pickup of the week, which everyone was talking about, was Gabriel Davis, 5 for 85 and not 1, but 2 touchdowns. So he's scored 3 weeks in a row. So we could see the writing on the wall for Gabe Davis. I like Gabriel Davis a lot.
He's so good
going forward. They don't need to re-sign Emmanuel Sanders. Just give the job to Gabe Davis and have him, Diggs, and Beasley be your top 3 guys, along with my boy Dawson Knox. Josh Allen has a decent fantasy day, but for the Panthers, just Cam Newton is just not. He made up his fantasy points with his legs, which is okay. But he can't do it through the air, and that affects everything in that Panthers offense right now. Hopefully Sam Darnold's back. I know they've designated him to return.
First time you've ever probably thought of saying that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just for if you own DJ Moore and you're making it further into the playoffs, you want to see Sam Darnold come back because it's just bad.
Another player that's so good, DJ Moore, like the 2-point conversion was an insane catch. And like he got in. Then there's another catch that he had that was insane, but he's out of bounds. Like he is, in my opinion, Stephon Diggs, but he just doesn't have a good, competent quarterback. And hopefully that will change if they get Deshaun Watson, which I think is a great possibility. The way I've seen things shape out. I mean, that would be a perfect fit for DJ Moore. We could see resurgence in Terrace Marshall, everybody's wide receiver 1 or 2 in preseason. I mean, this team could look completely different. And I mean, Chuba, as much as I liked him, he ain't it. That was a pipe dream. Amir Abdullah, hey, this is what we wanted 7 years ago, right? I mean, this is what we expected.
At the time he caught up, right?
Game for the Lions. He went in the 3rd round in redraft that year.
Goes to Christmas past.
This is a whole Devonte Parker situation. Hey, it just took him a little longer than normal, but here we are. Amir Abdullah, he's going to be one of those Giovanni Bernard type players that's going to hang around a little bit. Hey, he could be a guy that ends up on the Patriots and takes that James White role randomly and becomes relevant because he is a good player. But yeah, Panthers are lost without a quarterback, and thank goodness they played in Buffalo where it was cold because Cam Newton was aiming for worms and was just murderer's row of worms.
Yeah, he had one really nice pass that was probably the most accurate pass that he's ever thrown, and we were watching it on Red Zone. I was like, that was actually a really nice pass, and it might have been that 2-point conversion. But yeah, it's just not things. I mean, obviously, when the Panthers get McCaffrey back, the key is who's going to be their quarterback in 2020.
And it'll probably be a rookie. I mean, they got a high pick.
They do.
Maybe Matt Rule doesn't survive, but I think they believe Matt Rule's the answer, and they're just a quarterback away. So
I mean, the defense is pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, they get J.C. Horn back next year. It's really this offensive. It starts with the quarterback, and the Panthers could be one of those teams next year that they're in the playoff hunt if they get the right quarterback fit.
If they say they draft an offensive lineman and go get, I mean, they've got so much defensive line that they could trade one of them to Houston to get Deshaun Watson, and I mean,
give him
that could
Matos.
Yeah, him or hey, Brian Burns in a first for Deshaun Watson.
Ooh.
I
don't want to move Brian Burns. That's my guy.
I mean, as much as that would suck, Houston, hey, I mean, they look a little better than what we may have thought.
Yeah, we'll get there. All right, let's go to the upset of the day. Shocker City. First of all, DeAndre Hopkins is done for the regular season. He might be able to come back if they make the NFC Championship game. Okay, you just lost to the Lions.
Just take the postseason off, will you?
Yeah. So DeAndre Hopkins is done. We were
Kyler
all
thought he was also going on IR for the regular season.
Yeah. So we were all wondering how the targets would be split up amongst the Arizona Cardinals receivers and tight ends. I don't know, but Antoine Wesley was getting targeted way more than I ever thought possible.
Way
in this
too
game.
much.
Way too much. It's crazy. So the Lions win this one 30-12. And really the story here, Jared Goff looked great. Amon-Ra St. Brown, another guy that people have been picking up in redraft because he's getting a lot of targets, and he paid off. Josh Reynolds, who, if you listen to the Guru Game Guidance show, I said pick him up and stash him before he starts to pop off, and he's been fairly reliable. He scored a touchdown in this
Did you know he's got a connection with Goff? That's all I heard on the broadcast.
Oh, God. Yes. A mind meld. And I don't know who Craig Reynolds is or what hole he crawled out of, but 26 carries for 112 with Netflix? No DeAndre Swift, no Jamal Williams, who's still on the COVID-19 list. Craig Reynolds, I picked him up in a couple dynasty leagues for free just for S&Gs.
Kutztown College.
Yeah, small school.
Yeah,
but
they called
the story
him. He
is,
was watching Netflix. Yeah, he was watching Netflix.
They're like, man, can you run the football? Cool.
Yeah.
I needed Kyler Murray to have a big game in a league, and he totally let me down. But the good news is I was against him in a couple of leagues, so it's one of those like bittersweet, like, okay. But yeah, Christian Kirk, who's going to be a free agent after this year, leads the team in targets with 12, has 9 for 94 and a touchdown. They didn't do anything on the ground in this game. Chase Edmonds came back. They activated him from IR. He looked okay, but Arizona looks another one of those teams that for whatever reason this time of the year, they look just kind of lost. They've lost their mojo.
They weren't ready to play this game. They did not come in ready to play this game, and Detroit has nothing to play for except to win and go out there. Who does Arizona
play next week? Was this a trap game for them? I'm going to look.
They need to win out the next. They need to win
game.
One game. Yeah,
they play the Colts next week.
The Colts,
trap game.
Dallas, then Seattle. They have to win at least one of those games to clinch. I don't know if they're going to do it. It seems that Kyler Murray would rather sit there and pout in the back of the offensive line. And we've had this conversation. He was throwing himself a pity party on the field once again when things aren't going right. It looks like he's forcing passes.
He's like
double coverage.
Aaron Rodgers.
He can't see over the offensive line. He is not as mobile as he was year prior. And that is affecting his play, and his safety net of DeAndre Hopkins is gone. So the defense is keying in on other things. They are crashing. They crashed through that offensive line today. I did not see them play this bad all season long. It was terrible.
Dan Campbell is a good coach. I'm going to say it right here. Like, he is the typical player's coach, but he's good at coaching. Like, I don't know what it is, but these, like, he needs like 3 more pieces for the Lions to be like relevant, for them to be decent in the NFC North. I mean, they've had so many close games to where they could be, I don't know, maybe the 12th pick in the draft instead of the second pick.
Yeah.
Goff is fine. I think they will go defensive line because, hey, I mean, they get a defensive line in the draft. They get a Kuda back next year. This defense could look completely different. And, I mean, they didn't have Swift or Hawkinson. And that in itself is saying a ton. Amon-Ra St. Brown is growing. Like, this is what I wanted from him when I was like, hey, he's a late second round rookie pick that I'm targeting a lot. Yep. And this is what I expected. He's not going to be the big play guy, but hey, he could. Like, he's got the athleticism, and we saw it today. It looked like him and Goff are on the same page now. The Lions, I mean, they're a tough out, and if you don't come to play, this is what happens. My one takeaway from this game, though, is Rondell Moore. Where'd he go? Like, they were drawing up so many good plays in the preseason. They were using him well, and then they just tossed it out the door. Like, hey,
he had that one big game. And that was it.
huge game. Mm-hmm. And then they give him these screen passes. They don't use him outside of 5 yards from the line, which is crazy to me because he's so fast.
They should use him. I know he's not as big and as tough as like a Deebo Samuel, but they should use him like that. Like, use him, give him some carries, give him some slants. I mean, he can catch the ball and go. Like, he's great yards after contact. Really puzzling the usage with Rondell.
Give him
Moore.
some contested balls because, hey, if he's going against a 5'9" corner and he's 5'7", he's also got a 41, 42-inch vertical. So pretty sure he can out-jump the guy.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it moving. I want to talk about the Dolphins, the red-hot Miami Dolphins, the longest win streak in the NFL now. They're 7-7. They had a little bit of trouble in this one. Maybe it's because Jalen Waddle wasn't playing because he was on the COVID-19 list. They struggled a bit, and the Jets were up early in this one. I think 17-0 or 13-0.
Zach Wilson started 6 for 6 for 62 yards. I was mind blown. I was like, okay.
You're like, wait a minute, slow down, soldier.
That was the turning point of the game, correct?
Yeah.
He did have a rushing touchdown, but the Dolphins win this one 31-24. Tua starts off really slow. He did throw a couple of picks in this one. The most unlikely person in the week, other than Craig Reynolds, Duke Johnson. He was an RB1.
Duke Johnson.
He was an RB1 this week. Now, Myles Gaskin and Savon Ahmed just got activated off the COVID-19 list. Obviously, the reasoning that Brian Flores said is that Duke Johnson practiced with the team all week, and he had faith in Duke Johnson. And Duke Johnson paid off, man. If you picked up Duke Johnson and you started him, I love the size of your onions. 22 for 107 and 2 touchdowns, and he added a 20-yard reception as well. But this passing offense without Jalen Waddle in a good matchup against the Jets was a bit concerning. Would you say, James?
Yeah, I would. 3 turnovers for Tua in this matchup. Missing Waddle indeed. One interception two interceptions and a fumble. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was not looking good. And luckily enough, they were able to lean on the run game. And I'm really mad that this wasn't the Myles Gaskin game I was hoping for, especially in your fantasy playoffs in week 15. Because the production out of Duke Johnson, add that to Myles Gaskin, and Myles Gaskin is probably the RB1 of the week. Right. Yeah, it's a shame. Like, Tua, we see this all the time. He comes in good, and then he looks bad in some games. And to look bad against the Jets, that's a little concerning for me. It looked like he was lost without Jalen Waddle on the field, and luckily he is coming back. So
yeah, and he adjusted in the second half. He looked better. Devonte Parker ends up with a touchdown on 8 targets, and he played pretty well. On the Jets side, like, there was no fantasy relevant performances or anything. Michael Carter came back for the first time in a few weeks and did.
Wait, he did? I didn't see.
He was
there.
It was on the field. It wasn't the defensive player Michael Carter suited up as the offensive Michael Carter. It was there was 2 of them.
There was 2 Michael Carters.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets obviously, I think,
Neither
going forward with no Elijah Moore,
exactly.
no Corey Davis on the season.
The 2 rookie receivers for each team made a huge difference being out for both teams.
Yep, absolutely.
I do want to add a couple things. Jalen Waddle being out and Tua struggling like this shows how good Jalen Waddle is, and how I still feel like he's still a little undervalued for his price, what it should be. So if I were you, I'd go out and try to buy. And Devonte Parker, my love for Devonte Parker when he was a rookie came out a little bit today because I was watching. I'm like, he is so good at contested catches.
Yep.
He looks spry. Man, I might go out and get some Devonte Parker in some leagues where I'm gonna start contending because
What do you got to pay?
a second, a mid to late second.
I think in peak draft season, you can get him for an early third.
Maybe in like a super flex, but I mean, he's always underrated. And he's usually around the 10-point mark for a floor, and for that, I'd go out and buy because, man, I was watching today and I'm like, this is what we wanted. When he came out as a rookie, he struggled. It was mainly just mental for him because he just didn't want to do the work. He just wanted the production. He expected the production to come. He didn't put in the work. And then finally he did during contract season. And
2 years ago, he had that awesome stretch at the end of the season. And
he got hurt. He got hurt a little bit last year. And then
hurt a little bit this year.
Yeah, hurt a little bit this year. But when he plays, he's fun to watch.
What's the transition going to be for him with Waddle in year 2? Now, we've seen the relationship grow over the course of this season. How much does that deflate Devonte Parker's value next season with Waddle gaining a year of experience with Tua? I think it goes down even more, and you might be able to get pay a late third for him.
No.
Yeah, man.
No, I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Yeah,
no.
Waddle.
We've seen him and Waddle together. We've seen him and Waddle together. Parker still gets 5 catches.
They can coexist for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Waddle is just going to siphon all these targets off of Parker.
Exactly.
He'll siphon some, like maybe 1 or 2, but Parker's still going to get 7-8 targets a game.
I think the issue comes
when they're rolling.
The issue will come is who is the running back, and is the running back a workhorse? Is there running back a bell cow? That's where the issue will probably come.
Yeah, and this team could obviously use a running back that has.
Well, hey, they got the bell cow Duke Johnson, which we all wanted for 7 years. Another Amir Abdullah situation.
Yeah. The University of Miami's all-time leading rusher.
After Marlon Mack. I really thought they were a team that were going to go after Marlon Mack.
All right, let's move on to the Cowboys versus the lowly New York Giants. The big news injury-wise for this one for the Giants, Sterling Shepard, no contact, confirmed. He has torn his Achilles. You hate to see it, obviously, especially at the end of the season because he's not really going to have – I mean, he may be able to get back before the season. Tough day for the Giants offense in general. You know, Mike Glennon started through 3 picks. They brought in Jake Fromm. Devontae Booker, I don't know what it is about Booker, but he's had some juice this year. Barkley had one of the craziest catches I've ever seen out of the backfield. He literally reached around his back, caught the ball at the tip of the ball, and then flipped it around and ran. It was
so good. He's so good.
It was insane. Barkley, I saw Tyler, you just traded for Saquon Barkley, right? We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay, perfect.
So you just traded for Barkley. I saw that deal and I was like, okay. But this Giants offense just is dysfunctional right now. For the Dallas Cowboys, it's not like their offense is super functional either. Dak Prescott now has 8 touchdown passes in the last 7 games? Dakota, where are you, buddy? This offense was supposed to be awesome, and you've got CeeDee Lamb with 50 yards receiving, Gallup with 32. If you started Amari Cooper today, rest in peace.
Yeah, you
2
lost.
catches for 8
I lost.
friggin' yards. And Zeke Elliott, 3.3 yards a carry, like he does every week. He gets a touchdown to kind of sort of save his day. But Tony Pollard with a torn plantar averages twice as many goddamn yards as Zeke Elliott. Get Zeke out of there. I'm so done with Zeke. Pollard is the guy. He's got the juice. He's a much better player. But they're going to be stubborn because they gave Zeke the bag, and they're just going to roll Zeke out there every single week when Pollard should be getting the lion's share of these freaking touches.
Wait, you're telling me Jerry Jones
and Zeke did score a touchdown?
You're telling me Jerry Jones is going to be stubborn? No, not him.
No.
Tony Pollard should be getting the 16, 17 carries, and Zeke should be getting 8 to 10, and maybe some goal line work. That's what
I'm
Zeke
telling you. It's the Larry Johnson, Jamal Charles corollary. It's the same thing. Larry Johnson was beat into the ground, and Jamal Charles was waiting in the wings. This to me, and I'm not saying Tony Pollard is going to be Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles was awesome.
All right.
It reminds me of that.
Should I go into my trade a little bit?
Yes.
So in our listener league, our OG listener league on MFL, we have trading open all the time. And I have a bye week this week, and I lost Hawkinson. Swift, I don't think returns anytime soon. I would not be shocked if they shut him down with how good Reynolds is playing. And A.J. Brown, he'll probably come off the IR this week, and he'll probably play next week. But
yeah, he's eligible, yeah.
I traded those three, Swift, Hawkinson, and A.J. Brown, and I am the second seed, and I want to win. I'm going for it. So I traded for Barkley. I got Gallup, Brandon Cooks, and Kyle Pitts on coming back to me. Now I value Pitts more than Hawkinson, so that's fair. That's where the swing kind of went. And I obviously, gave Brown for Cooks and Gallup, but I do think Gallup leaves next year, and Cooks is playing outstanding. And I think if they get, honestly, we'll talk about that game, but Cooks played very well. And then Barkley, I think in next year, his contract year, I think he'll play better. They'll have probably a new quarterback. We all hope.
2 top 10 picks.
They could go out and get Watson. They could be the team.
Or Russell.
Barkley, when I saw Booker in there and then I saw Barkley's just got so much more juice to him than Booker. It's just Booker's a see hole, hit hole. Barkley's a more
dance around in hole and then hope hole opens up.
Yep. He's a little more patient, I do think. But yeah, I mean, he needs to get more aggressive. But man, the talent's still there, and I still think he's finally coming around from his injuries, which is good to see. But for me, in a team that is going for it, that is what I wanted to see.
Can you pull that trade back?
No.
At all? Is there any chance of that? No. I'm sorry, but I disagree with you. And this is coming from the resident Giants fan. Saquon Barkley did not look like Saquon Barkley. Yes, Doug, you made a good point. The catch was amazing. But Devonte Booker had more juice today. I watched this entire game.
Yep, I agree.
Devonte Booker looked like the better running back. Jake Fromm, they probably should have played him starting in the second quarter, the way Glennon was playing.
Starting at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, give Glennon a chance, let him throw an interception or make a mistake.
All right, Giraffe Boy. Go right behind.
Because it does not look good for the Giants. And they play Philly, Chicago, and Washington. I don't think the game script changes when Daniel Jones comes back. There's still, I think, Galladay actually caught a ball today, and then he had this weird drop on the sideline. Like, this is what the New York Giants are right now. I don't see them getting better this year. Tyler, I'm glad you got Kyle Pitts. That's promising. But as far as losing Swift and Hawkinson,
and Brown,
I don't know, man. I
That's
really
a tough
don't.
one.
Hey, I mean,
you could have probably looked for another target.
Maybe, but I'm fine with it. I mean, for me, I want to win the title.
Like, you probably could have went out and got Leonard Fournette.
But why? I mean,
why not? Why not?
The thing is we go for it. I don't see Swift. Swift is a little more than Barkley, but I mean, Hawkinson and Pitts for me. And then A.J. Brown's been so hurt, I have hardly been able to use him. Brandon Cooks is only 28. He'll be 29 next year. Gallup's going to go to a new team. He's a good player. He'll be, I don't know, like to me, he's got the same athletic skills as Chris Godwin. He's just not used like that. And I do think that Gallup will get paid. Hey, maybe he goes to Jacksonville and becomes part of that offense. But I don't know. I'm very okay with the trade just because I think Kyle Pitts is better than Hawkinson, in my opinion.
Is that why you did it? So you can get Kyle Pitts?
You get more Pitts? You're blinded by Pitts.
That's
still to this day.
With Matt Ryan throwing.
I tried, with our friend Clint, I tried to get Kittle.
Take long.
But he was just
for sure. He's
a big Kittle fan, even though he's rebuilding, and I offered a bunch for Kittle. He was just holding. So I respect that.
Hey, we'll see if it works out.
Yeah.
We should revisit it in a year. Set a Google reminder that we can talk about it a year from now.
Hey, Gaggle. I'm too poor to have Google, so we just get the off-brand Gaggle.
What was that? What was it in Hot Tub Time Machine? Was it Jugal?
Jugal.
Jugal, that he makes Jugal and he goes back in the time machine. What was it? Lugal, that's what it was.
It was
he goes back and makes Lugal. All right, let's talk about the next crap box game that we had. It was the Steelers versus the Titans. There was no passing touchdowns in this game, so it was very entertaining. This game, low-key, was hard to watch. Julio Jones.
Red Zone had it on way too much.
Way too much, because it was the Steelers. Julio Jones pulls his hamstring. Surprise! Hopefully you sold Julio Jones before the season started. I traded him for a second-round pick in a league that I co-manage, and my co-manager was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And I go, just trust me. Just trust me. So we got a high second-round pick back for Julio, and I'm perfectly okay with it because he hasn't done anything. So hopefully you get out of the Julio business before the season started. Tannehill throws a pick. He did get a rushing touchdown in this one. I want to talk about Deonta Foreman. And the reason I want to talk about him is A, because he's looked pretty good. And B, he is showing that you can be a running back in the NFL, tear your Achilles, and come back and be successful. Yes. He's had 2 straight games now with 100 yards rushing. And go buy Cam Akers. Get all the Cam Akers you can, because Cam Akers is a more athletic, younger player that is going to come back and
very soon.
Very soon. There's rumors he could come back if they make a playoff run, which I would love. And Cam Akers, to me, we all know that I love Cam Akers because of his Florida State roots. But I just think Cam Akers is a dynamic player. He may lose a little bit because of the Achilles injury in the first year. But if guys like Deonta Foreman, who's a not really super athletic running back, can come and put up back-to-back 100-yard games, Cam Akers can for sure come back. Now, for Pittsburgh, Big Ben continues to look absolutely washed. Najee Harris does nothing in this game.
Terrible.
Pat Freiermuth suffered a concussion. Hope he's okay. Deontay Johnson, only 5 targets. This is the kind of game Pittsburgh had. Deontay Johnson usually gets double-digit targets. Chase Claypool has 1 catch. It was just Pittsburgh's offense. They won this game, and they really shouldn't have. It was the defense that won this game for them. They were so bad.
So I love Claypool, but, man, I don't know what they do, because Pittsburgh fans hate Claypool now. Like, they won't forgive him for a very long time with that first down thing that he did. That, like, whenever he touched the ball, they booed him. He had a couple drops. You could tell it was starting to get to him mentally. That is a sticky situation. I know, Doug, we talked this offseason about Claypool and how he needs to grow up. And once he does that, then maybe we could see a ceiling. I know we talked about how he got in a fight this summer and he was part of that, and he kicked somebody when he was on the ground. Claypool's kind of got that childish,
immature
mentality. He's immature. I mean, what does Pittsburgh do? I think they keep him, but hey, if Pittsburgh can pry Watson or Rodgers from Green Bay or them, maybe he is part of a package. Kind of what I've heard rumors of Jerry Jeudy being part of a package. If they were to get one of these quarterbacks in a trade, Jeudy could be a part of that package. So we could see some weird kind of dynasty-like trades in the NFL.
Can I bring up an interesting dynasty buy? I think it's James Washington. He's going to be. I know you love James. He's been one of your guys. I know he's a free agent at the end of the year. I can't imagine. I mean, he could come back to Pittsburgh, although he's kind of had a weird career there so far. But I could see James Washington landing in a new spot and being a decent fantasy relevant, if he's the wide receiver 5 on your team. And I'd give up a late pick for James Washington for someone that's just frustrated because they spent like an early second on him in the draft that they got him in, or maybe even a first. I could see James Washington going somewhere and being a fit for somebody's offense and doing well.
He'd be so good in Atlanta right now. He'd be the wide receiver 2 easily and get a good amount of targets.
Outside of my boy Russ.
Man, we'll get to that. Oh.
Yes, we will get to that. James, anything on this absolute hot box of a game?
No, you hit it. Harris stunk it up.
Are you nervous about him?
No.
Harris?
Najee.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not super nervous.
Because I'm nervous about the offensive line. If the offensive line doesn't gel, I know it's young. It's a younger offensive line. They switched out some players, but if they don't get it together, it looks bad. Obviously, they need a new quarterback to stretch the field. Big Ben looked like a hot trash fire. And Tennessee was pretty much ahead in this game for the most part. Until,
they turned the ball over like 3 times in 10 plays or something.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's defense won this game. 4 fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and an interception. That's what won this game, and obviously Boswell's leg. But other than that, it was just a disgusting example of football and how it was supposed to be played.
So my worry about it is Najee is going to be 24 in March.
He's so old. He should probably just retire.
The thing is David Johnson had a very quick up and down, and it was a lot because of age. Now, I'm not saying Najee's going to go down that same path, but David Johnson was the RB1 at one point. He was the number 1 overall player at one point. But Najee could go along that path, because I think, next year he'll be fine. The year after that, he'll be fine. But once he hits 26, there's going to be a lot of dynasty players that are like, nope, his value's going down. I don't want. And that's the thing. Like, you got to really evaluate Najee based off of.
You're saying there's a small window that you would. Okay.
Yeah, he'll have 3 to 4 years of solid production, but once he hits that peak,
I mean, out of a running back, that's all you really want in fantasy dynasty nowadays.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
That's why it's like,
What would you rather have? Would you rather have Najee Harris, who's 23, or DJ Moore, that's 24?
DJ Moore.
And you could probably get DJ Moore plus.
And plus.
Yeah,
exactly.
Plus.
Exactly my point. And that's why I brought him up. Very similar in age, better experience,
better
maturity level. And as much as I like Najee Harris coming out of Alabama, like it just doesn't look like Pittsburgh's going to be putting up points week to week to week. And if they may, it all depends on the Ben Roethlisberger situation.
A prime example of running backs in dynasty is DeAndre Swift in UDPL, Doug. Like we've had Swift move teams like crazy, and it's because it seems like people know that it's just we'll just kind of go over it. Like Memphis had Swift that he got from me, and then he traded Swift for Justin Jefferson, and Shane was all pumped about it, and it seemed like it was a good thing. Then Shane, the value of Swift dropped because of the injury, and then Shane traded Swift for lower level type play. Well, not lower levels, but lower price players than what he traded Jefferson for. Yeah. And he instantly said, I regret trading Jefferson. And it's just like, that's what you feel when you trade for a running back in Dynasty high, because once it happens, like you're never getting that price. You will never get.
I mean, that's why we always say once a running back hits like the 101 in startups, you need to get rid of them. Yeah. Like I hate to say it, and it's not anything against those players. It's like, but look at Christian McCaffrey. He was the undoubtable 101, and now he's like the RB4, and he's probably towards the back end.
Mid-second round startup pick.
No, I don't think he's a mid-second. I still think he's a first-round pick, but
for me, he is.
Well, that's fine. But there's that like once he's had this elite, once a running back scores like, and I'm not including Jonathan Taylor because I don't want to have that discussion. I think that's stupid. But once a player has been in the league 3 or 4 years and they have that big touchdown, that big season, it's time to move on. And yeah, and even in 2 years from now, we could be having the same exact conversation about Jonathan Taylor. So
we should be having this conversation in the offseason this year about Dalvin Cook.
That's fair.
Oh, I mean, I'm fine with that.
And Joe Mixon, same guys in that class. Sure.
That whole class for sure.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Texans win this one 30-16. Trevor Lawrence looked better this week with no Urban Meyer, and James Robinson, again, much like Gabe Davis, everyone's like, he's a pick up and play guy. Start him. James Robinson was that same guy. He paid off. He got you a touchdown and 75 yards rushing. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, do we think Laquan Treadwell's found a home?
Yes.
9 targets, 6 catches, 57 yards. So I know James O'Shaughnessy led the team in receiving.
Shag Hennessy.
I had to play him this week.
Hey,
how great is that?
Good stream.
How great is that?
Yeah, but Treadwell leads the team in targets, and the last month Treadwell has been the leading receiver 3 out of 4 weeks, and he almost was here for 4 straight weeks. I'm not saying, but I'm saying he was a guy that was free in leagues, and
he still might be.
He's not super old or anything, but he's kind of showing like, hey, like don't forget about me, even though he was hot garbage.
Maybe Laquan tread lightly in Dynasty.
Ooh.
Tread softly.
I mean, if you got him on your roster, cool. If he gives you anything, it's a bonus because he was free. Brandon Cooks, though, 10 targets. Davis Mills doesn't look terrible in this game. I actually think he's okay.
I think they
Quarterback
stick
there
with them
next year.
Yep, I think they stick with him. And hey, shout out to Tim Keller. That's his boy. Big Mills fan.
Davis Mills. Yeah.
Big Davis Mills, General Mills. I just think he's all about the Mills.
General Mills. Puppy
It's gonna
Mills.
be all about those millies when he gets paid next year.
That Millie Maker. Yeah. So, he's pretty much the story here is Brandon Cooks leading the way. Nico Collins is a guy that I'm still interested in acquiring on the cheap. He's not popping off, but he looked good last week. He only got 4 targets this week, but
the catch radius is insane. His arms are so long.
It's amazing. An athlete. And I kind of hope he doesn't pop off for the rest of the season because you could still pick him up.
I want to get him in as a throw-in in off-season deals.
Yes,
100%.
I mean, I traded Garrett Price in the aforementioned
Garrett Price.
I traded with Garrett Price in the aforementioned UDPL. I traded Heineke because he needed a quarterback for Nico Collins, and I was like, yes, like this is it. I also gave up a mid-third, but I was not at all sad about that because I would give that all day.
Yeah. Let's move on to another S-box of a game. Cincinnati wins 15-10. And this was a very frustrating game for fantasy owners. We know Denver has a good defense. They're playing at home. So I wasn't expecting Cincinnati to pop off or anything. But I also wasn't expecting a 1-catch, 3-yard performance from Jamar Chase and in a 2 for 23 out of T. Higgins. Boyd gets a long touchdown to save his day if you started him. Most people probably didn't. Yeah. For Denver, Teddy Bridgewater has a scary injury. He's carted off. He has a concussion. Javonte Williams, again, leads the way with carries. He tied with Melvin Gordon, but he had many more yards because he's I can't wait for Javonte. And do we think he's a top six or seven running back in Dynasty right now?
Yes.
If they don't sign Melvin Gordon, which is a very good possibility, they re-sign him. Because it's Denver. I don't know.
They're going to need money to push for one of these quarterbacks.
That's true, but yeah, if he is by himself and only has, say, a Mike Boone behind him, which they still like, and Mike Boone looked good a couple times this season. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, Javonte is a top 6-7 running back.
Yeah. Joe Mixon has a quiet day in this one, so you probably started him. You didn't really get much. Sorry, not sorry. For Denver, I mean, outside of the Teddy injury, at least Drew Lock was pushing it down the field a little bit. But Albert Okwuegbunam, yes!
Very good.
Led the team in receiving along with Noah Fant. But man, Cortland Sutton, holy S. Jerry Jeudy, 4 targets, no catches.
Most overrated wide receiver in that class.
Cortland Sutton.
Jeudy.
No.
Woo!
Jeudy.
Let's go.
That's a hot take if I've ever seen one.
Throw him away.
Tyler's
really
go by Jerry Jeudy.
I am done.
Really?
I am done.
Done?
Done.
Why? Because Drew Lock couldn't get him the ball?
Because he's supposed to be the best wide receiver on the team. He gets 4 targets and drops all of them. No, see you later, bye.
He dropped all of them?
No, he didn't
Are you
drop
moving
all
on
of them,
from Cortland Sutton too? 7 targets, 2 catches.
I saw
yards.
Cortland Sutton drop a ton.
I'd rather have Tim Patrick than Jerry Jeudy.
Oh,
are you going to argue with me on that?
Such a bad take.
Is it? Is it though? Because who has produced in the past 2 years?
I mean,
with opportunity. It's
how about that Barrett Browning with 10 tackles?
Why? Because he had high draft capital. Good. Sell him as much as you can. I am getting rid of Jerry Jeudy.
Patience. And
no, I have no patience for
when
Jerry
you
Jeudy.
have Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock as your quarterback for the past 2 years,
He looked good with Lock last year.
Did he though?
I mean, Jeudy had 800 yards in his rookie year?
So
that was
bad.
solid.
Lock should have had 3 picks this game.
I mean, Lock is not good. Let's be honest.
He's not good.
I mean, the guy has only had 6 receptions in a game. That's the highest he's had all season long. He has not broken 100 yards, no matter who the quarterback was.
It's Teddy Bridgewater. Like, he's not good. If Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback,
Jalen Hurts isn't good, but we've seen Devontae Smith do better.
Didn't they have 3 top 30 wide receivers last year with Teddy Bridgewater?
You hate me right now.
Tyler, did they not? Did they not have Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, and DJ Moore were top 30
it's
wide
really
receiver
cold
seasons?
in Denver, and Teddy hates the
here
cold.
It comes.
Maybe Jerry Jeudy hates the cold too.
Jerry Judy's getting moved next year.
Is he going to be your Devontae Parker? You're just going to sit on him for 5-6 years?
He's going to be just fine next year. And I'm going to cook
up.
Siri
didn't get that.
There's some nice crows up here that I could really get you a good plate for next season.
Ship me one. I will happily eat it if I am wrong, but I am
Tim
done
Patrick
with
over
him.
Jerry Jeudy. That
done with him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little steep. I'm
Nope,
Italian.
you
We
said
like
it.
to exaggerate a little.
I do like
bit,
Tim Patrick, just
but
not
I
as
am
good as Jeudy.
happy with Tim Patrick.
Well,
If I had Jerry Jeudy, I'd sell him for Tim Patrick. Plus
I wish I was in a
second,
league with you and we
and
had
I'd be
those,
happy with
those
it.
pieces.
Exactly.
And I would do that deal.
because then you could hold him to it. That's the best part. You could be like, hey, you said it.
Oh, you gun shy now? Would you gun shy? You could do that? You gun shy?
Change
now?
of heart? No, I'm not. I'll stick to it. Jerry Jeudy, most overrated for the 2020.
Who's in that class?
Well, besides Henry Ruggs, but that didn't pay off either.
Justin
Jalen
Jefferson's
Reagor.
in that class. Jalen Reagor.
Jalen Reagor.
Justin Jefferson,
Oh.
CeeDee
He was-
Lamb.
He was also my wide receiver 1A in that class. So
You should shut
Oh,
your-
Jeudy was your one.
no, Jefferson. I
Oh,
placed.
oh.
I even called people out and I said,
T.
hey, I'll
Higgins
take.
was in that class.
Yeah,
I'd rather have
Higgins
T.
was-
Higgins than Jerry Jeudy.
Well, that's easy.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Niners beating your Atlanta Falcons, Tyler, 31-13. Matt Ryan, they have offensive line troubles. I think Ryan's actually played semi-decent based on the fact that he has no time. If you started Cordero Patterson, congrats, you lost. 11 carries for 18 yards, 2 catches for 5 yards. Patterson's been one of the gems that we found in Dynasty and Redraft this year, and this week
He
just
Andrew
was not
lucked you.
it. It was not good. My boy Russell Gage. Now, if you listen to this podcast 2 years ago, me and my boy Zach Kruger, shout out to Zach, were pounding the table to go pick up Russell Gage. And he leads the way with 11 targets, 8 for 91 and a touchdown. He made some amazing catches in this game.
yes.
I like Russell
That
Gage.
touchdown catch was insane.
Yeah. Gage is really another LSU receiver. Fancy that. There must be
No,
something
he was
in
a
the water.
corner, and he switched to receiver, which is why it's taken him a little bit.
Yeah, but Russell Gage is good. Kyle Pitts, he gets some garbage time for you, and he has 77 yards on
I know
4
why.
catches.
I know why.
Why?
Cool.
This game and last game solidified why Pitts. They have these drawn out plays, play action plays for Pitts, and their
don't
offensive
work.
line is so atrocious that Matt Ryan sees him, he's open, but Matt Ryan can't get a throw off in time. And that's the issue. Like Matt Ryan gets 2 seconds, and if it's not out, he is
under duress often.
He needs a cold call. I mean, we've all seen those Tide commercials, and Matt Ryan needs a cold call to get a Tide Pod in that cold water because his jersey is a
Someone
mess.
get Matt Ryan an offensive line.
Someone get him an offense. Get the team an offensive line. 42
I mean, they're gonna have
yards
an early
of
pick.
rushing. That's bad.
It's gonna
very
be an interesting draft for them because they need everything. They need a receiver. They need to figure out what is going on with Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, that's the big question.
There's no news. That's
we need to
my
find
problem.
out. We need to find out.
It's not only that, like there's no news to it. And how are you not keeping up with one of your star players who's
Because
going
you
through a
can't do that.
time?
Legally, they're not allowed to discuss that.
Yeah, I mean, they could be
regardless.
talking with him every day, but they're not going
Yes,
to divulge
They
that.
cannot disclose that
That's
information.
true.
Yeah, because
There's
it's a medical
rumors flying
condition.
around. There's rumors flying around that he could be on the move next season. A change of scenery for both teams. Maybe it would help him. I mean,
Maybe him and Matt Ryan hate each other. We don't know that.
Maybe that. Maybe it's.
It's obvious.
I doubt.
Maybe
that.
the offensive line's stressing him out.
Maybe Matt
I mean,
Ryan.
I know it's stressing you out.
Maybe Kelvin Ridley doesn't like cold water wash, and Matt Ryan did it once, and
Yeah,
that's it. I absolutely hate those commercials, by the way.
He
But
shrunk his underwear.
it's to me, this team is a hot mess. There's a lot of needs. Matt Ryan's gonna be the quarterback next year because they owe him a ton of money.
Yeah, bajillion dollars.
But I would not be shocked if they do take his successor in the draft and let him sit a little bit.
Unless they trade him in like a Carson Wentzian type of deal.
That's true. Or you draft Matt Corral. Then every time
I can't wait.
he makes a play, we go Corral.
Shout out
Pitts
to
is
The
good.
Walking Dead.
Pitts for me is going to be fine. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, he's still as a tight end super talented, but I do think the expectation got out of control. Hey, you can still hit 1,000 yards, right?
Sure. Hey, let's talk about the team that won a little bit. Jimmy Garoppolo has a super efficient game here. Doesn't really make too many mistakes. Jeff Wilson, I had to start him in a couple of leagues. Paid off. 110 yards and a touchdown and a great matchup.
Finally.
Debo continues to get rushing touchdowns. He scored one. He actually got some air yardage this week. He's been getting like 1 or 2 targets a week, but he had 5, 4 for 60. And then George Kittle, 6 for 93 on 6 targets. Wish they would have used him a little bit more, but George Kittle is having a great end to his season, so he's helping people win in their playoffs. And then Brandon Ayuk.
Womp, womp, womp.
Well, I think you saw AJ Terrell is low-key really good.
He's having a Pro Bowl year. He is
Yeah.
the best corner we've had since Desmond Trufant.
So when people were saying start Brandon Ayuk this week, I was like, no, I'm not I'm not saying he's a wide receiver 2 this week. I knew he was going to see Terrell a lot, and I kind of saw this one coming. So much like I see with Terry McLaurin on Tuesday night with Darius Slay, I don't think McLaurin's going to do much of anything. So we shall see. Boys,
Noted.
anything on that one before we move on?
Jimmy G's getting moved, right? Like we can
Trey Lance has got to be the guy there.
Yeah,
Unless
that's what
they
I
win the
was gonna
Super
say.
Bowl or something.
And Jimmy G is the sole reason why they win it. Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
How much does that
No.
affect the wide receivers and the running game, the game script that they're going to have with Trey Lance? They're going to be running it more with him, I'm assuming.
I think
A
it
little bit
affects
more
George
RPO.
Kittle. I think it
It'll
affects
affect-
Ayuk. I think
and
Debo.
I
I
think
think they're going to center the offense more around Debo than anybody else,
I think all
other than Trey Lance.
I think all facets will be fine except the running backs. I think we're going to overvalue
Elijah Mitchell. Yeah.
which in turn, I think Lance is going to take at least 5 to 8 carries from him each game.
I mean, look at it like the Baltimore offense when it was clicking. Like those running backs were still fantasy relevant. It was the wide receivers that were a little meh. But I think you're going to get weeks where an Ayuk and a Debo is going to pop. They just won't be consistent.
Yeah,
I think Lance has a better arm than Jackson personally.
Well, and he's a hell of a lot more accurate. So
we know that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Hold on, this stupid audio. All right, so Green Bay versus Baltimore. This was an exciting game. Before the game, Lamar Jackson was ruled out. I said earlier I made the move of putting Huntley in over Baker because of the COVID situation, and Huntley absolutely pops off with 4 total touchdowns. The offense looks good with Huntley. With Lamar, they looked freaking lost. So very interesting. I'm not saying Lamar is going to be replaced or anything crazy, but Huntley, we talked about it at the top. I think he's shown enough where he can be efficient in the right offense, and maybe he ends up being a starter somewhere next week or next year. Very interesting. Aaron Rodgers does Aaron Rodgers things. 3 touchdowns. Still looks like a douche. The
hair,
the bug eyes and the hair and his douchey demeanor. I just can't. Aaron Jones gets the bulk of touches in the backfield, which is good. I thought this was going to be an A.J. Dillon game again. Dillon does get a touchdown. Aaron Jones gets a receiving touchdown. So they spread that around really nicely. MVS has a nice rebound game. Devontae quiet, even though there's no Marlon Humphrey, no Jimmy Smith. I thought the Baltimore secondary wasn't terrible when they absolutely had every excuse to be. And then Mark Andrews, man, what a season.
He's a man.
He's like, you know what, Travis Kelsey, you took tight end 1 on the season back this week, and I'm just going to snatch it right back from you. 13 targets, 10 for 136 and 2 touchdowns. And then Hollywood, yeah, he might have had 14 targets, but they were 3 to 5 yards. It was
10 for 43.
Rondell Moore was jealous of this type of game.
Yeah, that was a Jarvis Landry with Miami stat line, if you remember those, when he'd have 10 catches for 50 yards. Yeah, they didn't go to anybody else, really.
Nope.
It was Andrews and Brown and put it down.
Bateman got shut down.
Can I tell you how sad I am? I said early offseason that Mark Andrews was being slept on like crazy because he had an off year last year. And I traded Hawkinson for him pretty much with Dynasty Rich and UDPL early in the offseason. And man, I feel like I let Andrews down because I just didn't stick with my love. And I'm disappointed in myself. I
was going to say, from a real football standpoint, this is 2 weeks in a row now that the Ravens have gone for 2 to win the game. And they haven't converted on either. So in essence, they've lost both games. When the AFC playoff hunt is so tight, what the F are you doing? Tie the damn game and try and win it in overtime. So puzzling. But
John Harbaugh, get Jim Harbaugh out of your ears and just call your own calls.
Just an update. If you've started any Saints or Bucks, cool.
Another gross game.
They are not doing
Godwin
anything.
Is out for the rest of the game.
And Evans.
Oh, of course he is.
And Evans.
So I've officially kicked out of one league playoff.
Yeah,
Evans,
I'm not going to win now.
I'm out because of Godwin being out. But you know what?
I need a big game from Godwin.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints, didn't they? No, I mean, Atlanta beat the Saints. I know that. So
Everybody
in
beat the
essence,
Saints.
the Falcons are better than Tampa Bay right now.
They're
Fournette was also headed to
6-7.
the locker room, it looks like. Wow.
Ronald Jones just had a big break.
Falling apart.
No, Fournette was playing. I mean, Fournette just came off the field. He's fine, I believe. Ronald Jones in there now, but they can't score a touchdown. Saints have been shutting them down.
Yeah, that's the Tom Brady's kryptonite is the New Orleans Saints, apparently. So
It's like the New York Giants.
very interesting week in fantasy football, guys. We've got 5 more games ahead of us in the next 2 days. Or no, 4 more games in the next 2 days.
Now, we do have a question.
Yes.
Let's answer this by Mike Kinney from Facebook. Yes, we do this live when we are on every week. We'll start doing it. We'll be doing it live every Sunday where we usually do. Mike Kinney from Facebook. Jimmy G going to be the quarterback where next year? Pitt, Washington football team, or Denver? Me personally, I can't see Pittsburgh or Denver just because of the climate. They want a big quarterback, in my opinion, with a bigger
Jimmy
arm.
G did play in New England.
That's true, but in that style of offense, personally, I don't think he fits. Denver, I think they want a big arm guy like John Elway. He'll have a lot to say. I think he fits perfect in Washington. He's an upgrade over Heineke, but he plays a little bit like him.
I think he would fit in Carolina too.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina might not do that because he reminds them too much of what Teddy did, but I do think he's better than Teddy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, Jimmy, he's got a bigger arm, but not by too much.
I agree. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with you, the Washington football take, but I also want to throw in there Green Bay. Like, they don't need to rely on the quarterback. They have running backs in that system. They've been waiting for Aaron Rodgers to leave that system so they can.
Says Tyler.
It's Jordan Love season.
No, it's not. We've seen that experiment.
We've also seen GMs be stubborn as crazy, and they're
going to need to bring in somebody. They need some kind of journeyman. They're not just going to hand the keys over to Jordan Love.
Jimmy G for a backup to start.
I mean, why not?
They'll bring in like a Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He's 13, maybe all right.
Fitzpatrick broke his hip. He's in the senior.
They'll bring in
collecting Social Security.
They'll bring in somebody low key, and they're gonna go with Love.
They're bringing Loki.
Yeah,
Loki.
that'd be dope.
I don't know. I agree with the Washington football team. Whatever their mascot's going to be next year, but I don't know. I don't know about Pittsburgh. I don't see them committing to something like Jimmy.
Yeah.
Fair. I'm looking at my playoff matchup now that Godwin's out, and I'm toast.
Oh, yeah.
Toast.
Anywho, yeah, he's got Justin Jefferson. I got Darrell Henderson, which will probably split carries with Sony Michel. So awesome.
All right. Also, go check Fantasy Points. We will have a new code for you guys next week to sign up for the pre-orders for everything for 2022. They got a lot more coming. They're also possibly dipping into esports. So everybody that's going into that stuff, check out fantasypoints.com. And we will have a new code for you next week for your pre-orders to give you a little savings on money. And Trophy Smack, of course, DHH ring to go get yourself a free ring to get that trophy that you need to have when you win the title coming up. That's a must. Doug, I know you probably got to ship that belt soon back to me so I can give it to somebody new.
Yeah.
Give that thing a good wash.
I'm going to wash it with my private parts.
Like I said, a good wash.
I'm gonna put some stank on it.
And it's always fun to have a
it is a beautiful belt.
Leagues. It is. And they got custom belts that are sweet. They've shown a couple new ones that they've customized. And I mean, Doug, take it away.
Yeah, man. Best of luck if you made it through to the next round. Hopefully next week won't be as crazy as it was this week. But here's a fun look ahead. It will be. So it's a war of attrition out there. So thank you for joining us this week. Make sure you go on to Apple iTunes, leave a review, and let us know what you like, what you don't like. We're open to changing things up a little bit. Tyler likes to change the show every week almost. So he's open to new ideas. But for me, I've been your host, Doug Eddy. You can find me on Twitter at @TheFantasyFather. You can find James at @FF_chef. And of course, the main S stain, Tyler Gunther at DHH_Tyler. That is a pleasantry to be called that, my friend. It is a compliment.
You're number one in my book,
yes,
Tyler.
It is a compliment, and you should see it as such. And don't be salty. But
can I get a shirt?
Sure. But most importantly, happy holidays. I want everyone to have a safe, healthy, great holiday with friends, family, whoever you spend it with. Hopefully you get all the things that you asked for, and including some championships in fantasy football. But that's the most important thing. Be happy, be healthy. We'll see you next time on the Dynasty Happy Hour.